guys, welcome to the Chelsea Skidmore Show. I'm here today with my guest, Dave Navarro. How's it going, Dave?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's a little hot in here, just as you stated.
We are currently broadcasting from the underbelly of the Comedy Store.
Yeah, there were some boys in here. I think they turned up the temperature.
They brought the heat.
It kind of smelled a little bit when they left.
I think they brought the heat is what they call it. The Comedy Store, for those of you who have not been here, this is a great place to see up-and-coming comics, people that you may know, people that you've seen, but it really is just a huge disguise for the house of depression and anxiety. Wouldn't you say that's true?
I would. Everyone here pretty much hates himself.
Well, it's that way in music, too, so that's how I can identify with it.
I got to be honest, I don't want to say I know nothing about music because I know about music, but like I can't tell you song titles, facts.
You don't need to know that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, for me, I'm a little bit of a historian because I'm just, that's my passion, that's my career, and that's what I love. But if something comes on and you like it, just make it your thing, You don't need the whole backstory unless you want to know.
Yeah, I feel like it's just something I've never read like a biography. I've never, about any musicians.
So what do you listen to?
I mean, I listen to everything. I did grow up in New York, and when I grew up in the 90s, so K-Rock was like my favorite station, and it was so good, a lot of alternative rock. And then I also listened to classic rock. But
you never had that experience of going to a store, purchasing an album,
did.
Taking it home, putting it on, and reading the liner notes while it's playing?
No.
Like learning who produced it, learning who engineered it, learning who the players are.
Well, I bought the tape to TLC and I played it over and over again until I memorized it.
Yeah, the same thing. Yeah, totally the same thing.
The first album I bought was the blue CD case, whatever that was, for Marilyn Manson when he was naked.
I play on that record.
Do you?
Mechanical Animals.
Okay, yeah. And my mom tried to take it away from me for some reason. Yeah. My first concert was Smashing Pumpkins.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Fourth grade.
So you know what you're doing.
I wore a sports bra.
You're saying all the right stuff.
Yeah.
Why'd you wear a sports bra?
Because that was like the look.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You weren't going to do calisthenics at the Pumpkin show.
No, I think...
But you were prepared should you choose to.
I think it was a look of wearing baggy jeans, sports bras, and black lipstick.
Yeah.
I went through a lot of phases. That's like when...
Kind of like that living color look.
I mean, I didn't have brown lipstick.
Right. But I mean, this is, that's like a throwback to, do you remember that show?
I know it, but
All right. So we're really off to a great start here. It's a good thing you're calling me down here.
You could teach me some stuff. Well, yeah, were you going to guide us in a meditation to begin with?
That was my initial idea. Chelsea called me and said, hey, come on my podcast. And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. How long is it? And she said, it's like an hour. And I said, okay, cool. I'd like to open with a 45-minute silent meditation. So if you would, sit back, take some deep breaths, and just let go of any thoughts that may be intrusive. Just notice them. Let them come. Let them go. And we're going to do this, and we're going to sit back and breathe for the next 45 minutes, and I'll come back and check on with you. Maybe it's not a good
Love
idea.
it.
Maybe that's not a good idea for entertainment.
I wanted you to do it either way. Do you meditate daily?
I do. Mm-hmm. I do. But I do a number of different styles. Sometimes it's just a moment of being quiet and stillness and just trying to breathe and be as present as possible. Because I've come to learn that the source of all suffering is self-centric thinking.
Is that a Buddhist thing?
It's just I don't know where it's from, but that is the truth. If anything that we're suffering about, it's usually about how it's affecting us, and it's all inward thinking. So to take a breath and smile and be still and just get out of the future, get out of the past, and be in the moment, there's nothing to suffer about. Unless you're on fire while you're trying to do this, then it doesn't apply. But so that's the kind of meditative state I try and be in. I practiced transcendental meditation for a lot of years, and that is very mantra based, which is 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. It's pretty time consuming, and there's a serious amount of dedication required for that. And I kind of strayed from that, and I basically I'll listen to guided meditations. I will just practice stillness on my own. Yoga really helps too. I've gotten into this place where just the world has become so chaotic and social media has become so chaotic that anything I can do to take a break from all of that is beneficial for me.
Do you get affected by social media in a way that you get like FOMO, like you see people that you know out somewhere, or career stuff? Does that get you?
No, but here's the thing about social media that I want to make very clear. When I post stuff, okay, if you look through my Instagram, for instance, it appears that I have, a very exciting, full life. And I do, and I'm grateful for it. But I don't post me binge watching Netflix all day. I don't post me having a nervous breakdown and crying. I don't post me taking out the trash. I don't post real life moments, and nobody does. And the whole thing about it is that it is just a narcissistic self-expression of who we want the world to perceive us to be. It's all self-centric projection, and it's all a mask. And especially nowadays with the apps they have, and I'm guilty of using them. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying, myself included. But you don't really even know what anybody looks like anymore. Because there's so many little Facetune apps, and I have one on there that I can change the size of my eyes and the.
Which one?
I'll give it to you.
Okay.
It's really important.
I feel like
you're going to need that.
I feel like the girls in LA have apps that I don't even know about.
They do. Well, you fortunately don't need them.
Thank you.
Yet.
But a lot of girls, don't look the same in person.
Oh no! Try going on Tinder or Bumble or.
Are you on Tinder?
No, but I'm just saying I know for a fact that there are people on those things where you look at their profile picture and then you swipe whichever way you swipe to have them meet you, and they show up and you're like, what happened to the person in the picture that I connected with?
Have you gone on a lot of dates off apps?
No, I don't like to use them. There was one called Raya that was like
we were all on Raya.
Yeah, that was like an entertainment one, and it just got so creepy, and I just I'm 51 now, and I'm really old school. And what those things did for me was there was dopamine releases. Like if someone matched me, then I was like, oh, then I got all high from it, and then I kind of buzzed about that and stayed out of the moment. And then the reality is my life is very busy and full, and I got great friends. And the fact is it really is a lot to ask to take an hour or two out of my life to go meet a perfect stranger.
Yeah.
Who is face-tuned completely out of proportion. And they show up and you're like, did you happen to eat the girl that was in the picture that I liked? Because, what's going on here? That picture was 10 years and 20 pounds ago.
Yeah.
So, and I'm guilty of it too. So the one caveat about social media, and I think it's great, and it's certainly helped me in my career and all that, but be aware that it is nothing but compare and despair. It's really all it is. I know people that go on private boats or go on private jets, and they bring multiple outfit changes, and then we'll take a picture, change their clothes, take another picture, change their clothes, take another picture, change their clothes, and then over the course of a month, upload pictures as if they're different days. And that's just their life on a boat. You know what I mean? So when you're dealing with that kind of mentality out there and that kind of narcissism and that kind of extroverted, exhibitionism, there's really not a lot of room for reality in it.
Yeah. And you grew up in LA. Yeah. So you're probably used to this. I think it's probably has it gotten worse, or was it like this?
I think it's gotten much worse. I think it's gotten much worse. I mean, but you're from where?
New York.
Okay, so you came up in a big city anyway. But the thing about LA that I found, I grew up here, and the multitude of people that are here, and I don't want to say anything on a blanket level, but many people that come here are coming here because
they want to be
they're not happy with who they are, and they want to come here and be something else and reinvent themselves and have it be all about them. And so we live in a very vampiric society here in Los Angeles. It's like a microcosm of narcissism. And as long as you know that, walking around through this world, you can get by. But if you try and take it on its face value and think that it's reality, it's it's going to be a harsh lesson. So
yeah,
I try and I've watched it get worse over the years, because when my band first got started, nobody had cell phones. You know what I mean? Nobody had a camera with them at all time. There was no internet.
Really? There wasn't you guys didn't have photographers following you around?
No.
Well, did you? Okay, so
because it would require a camera and film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
I feel like I see movies or where it's like, bands, I don't want to say back in the day, but
You
like,
can say back in the day.
photographers following them around and documenting everything, and all these like young journalists like following people
Yeah, I
on
mean,
tour.
there is that, and for sure there was that, but it wasn't intrusive. It wasn't, back then you knew there was going to be a photographer kind of roaming around, and that's the other thing that's pretty interesting is like back then, you could make coffee table books 30 years later because they're really nice, candid behind the scenes photos, black and white film, all grainy and saturated in the studio. And I think the coffee table books of the future are all going to be people arm in arm looking directly into the lens.
Yeah.
Because they're all on phones.
I just saw this movie, 8th Grade, that Bo Burnham made. He's a comic. And it was all about 8th graders. And the entire movie, they're just on their phones. And they don't even like really communicate with each other. They're having conversation. Every single scene had someone with a phone, and it's scary.
It is scary. There's a great artistic... I don't know, take on that. If there's a guy out there, I forgot the guy's name, you can look it up. And what he did is he took pictures of people on their phones and he photoshopped out the phones. So it's just people looking into their hands. And it really is a great take on what society's like. And there's a shot in there of 3 kids, quote unquote, having a play date. And they're all sitting on a couch looking down into their own hands. And they're not interacting.
Yeah. I played in the woods when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and it is what it is, and who knows, this could be, the beginning of the next level of like genius generations prepared for what's coming in the future. I don't know, but I do know that we are definitely lacking human connection.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So do you do anything in your personal relationships to try to like unplug often or make any?
Right now I'm just at the...
How are you making it better?
No. Right now I'm just at the awareness level. I haven't actually done anything about it. The first step is
that's the first step.
Yeah, the first step is being aware of it.
Yeah.
But hashtag Dave Navarro, by the way. No, so I just... What I do is I try and take breaks from it. So... like I go on retreats. Like I'll do a yoga retreat for a week in Big Sur. And there's no cell service. There's no internet whatsoever. So you just can't... I put myself in locations where I can't access it. And then I really do find that just that free-floating anxiety that we carry around as inner city people just kind of subsides a little bit. I find it to be nice. But
I think anytime you get out of a big city and you're just somewhere else, it just feels different, and you can just relax in a different way in general too, besides, your phone being an issue. But it's like your heart's like in a city, and then you get somewhere else and there's just like this inner stillness that's almost just like the flow of a river sort of thing.
It's gotten to the point where even, and I'll admit this, I was just in Big Sur for a week. No service, no cell service or anything like that. And really struggled. I was out in the middle of nature going, God, this would be a great picture for my Instagram story. The biggest problems we have is like, is this for my feed or is this for my story? I can't tell. The story only goes 20. So and I found myself like so caught up in that thinking that it took me like 2 days to like, okay, that's not what you're here for.
Did you go to Esalen?
I did.
Yeah. I've wanted to go there.
I've been there a bunch of times.
You recommend it?
I do, but it's work. Okay, so Esalen is an institute up in Big Sur, and it's kind of a retreat that is right on the water. It's a beautiful place, and they offer yoga training. They offer inner work training. So there's different workshops that
you have to take a class if you stay there.
Yeah. So I've taken forgiveness workshops, that's fucking hard. I mean, that's like some hard, deep work. It's like you're in a room writing and sharing and doing all that stuff, and it's really deep, emotional, powerful work. The next time I went back, it was more of a yoga thing because it was so emotionally taxing. The first workshop I did that I just wanted to come back and do something physical and be in nature and do that. But yeah, if for anyone who's seeking to better their lives or get to know themselves better, I would certainly recommend it.
And you do Kundalini, right?
I do also.
Other forms.
Yeah, I do like. There's the LA yoga, which is like hard vinyasa flow, which is to just get ripped so you look good in jeans. There's that kind of yoga, and then there's the kind of yoga where it's more of a spiritual breath work kind of awareness, and I do that too. So I've kind of moved away from being a gym person to a yoga person. And I've really found that starting a class with some kind of spiritual intention and ending a class with a shavasana, which is like, you don't do that in a gym.
Yeah.
Where there's guys going,
that's
they're
the best
dropping
part,
weights
too.
and shit, and there's fucking house music playing, and then, you know what I mean? That's not the most, it's not the most calming, gentle environment for me.
Yeah.
And I was a hardcore gym guy for many, many years.
Did you used to work at Equinox?
I did.
I feel like I'm just remembering now that I used to see you there.
Yeah.
I don't work out there right now.
Yeah.
But I used to.
Yeah.
I did try that one Kundalini teacher above, where McDonald's is on Crescent Heights.
Yeah, that's
She's
supposed to be really good.
Popular. But for me personally, I don't know if it's just where I was at in my life, but I just didn't really connect to it.
Yeah.
Like the punching around thing in a circle. And I mean, it's just one class, you know.
It's
But I've heard it does wonders for people.
Yeah, but I mean, also, like, if you're just cool and happy and not really searching for anything, like, there's no need to do that either. So, I don't sit here. I just tell you what I do. I don't tell anybody what they should do. I feel like that's something.
Someone went to Al-Anon.
Well, no, I went to another 12-step group, but same principle. Yeah, attraction, not promotion.
Right, and you're sober.
Well, I don't think that if I went to a 12-step group and shared what I do for my personal self-care from the podium, it would go over so well.
Because you do some outside stuff. I
do some outside stuff, which I consider an outside issue, and there's a very mixed consensus of that in the group. But I have to accept what's worked for me, and so I do participate in 12-step recovery. I do participate in being of service for other alcoholics and addicts that suffer, and it's also kind of blended into working with domestic violence and mental health awareness, because there's a lot of these things go hand in hand. And really, what we're talking about is trauma suffering, of which I am a trauma survivor. And having been a trauma survivor, I have found that there's other work that's a little bit more in the experimental phase, although a lot of it's getting about to be approved by the FDA. Some of that involves working with psilocybin, working with MDMA, different psychedelics, but in a clinical setting. And that's been really helpful for me, just in terms of dealing with trauma.
Have you tried EMDR?
I have tried EMDR.
Yeah.
And I do like it. It's what EMDR, have you done it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you do it where it's a visual, or do you do it with
holding the things, which I love, and I want them at home.
The little paddles? Yeah. Yeah, so what have you found from that? Like, what has it helped you access?
Well, basically, I'll pick an emotion or a thought, like, say, I don't, like, I feel less than or something. And then I'll hold them, and then she'll say, recall the times that you felt less, like the earliest memories of when you felt less than.
Oh, yeah.
And then you close your eyes, and then she watches you and writes down, I guess, what you look like. And then you open up your eyes and tell her everything, and then you just keep doing that for different. So I've done it, probably 10 times, holding the things, really the vibration things.
Yeah, that's what I like better too.
It's really calming and it feels really good. She's also done hypnosis on me as well. But sometimes it's like one of those things that's like, what is this doing?
Yeah.
I'm a very skeptical person. I have this thing where I always feel like I'm being tricked.
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from.
Well, I think that what the thing it's supposed to be doing is it's supposed to, because it's going from side to side, and this is me being an armchair psychiatrist here, I don't know for sure, but it's not allowing your neural pathways to stay in the same direction as they do, because when you're in trauma or you're in fear or you have any of those kinds of feelings, or when I am, you're firing down the same neural pathways that are used to being fired, and that's your natural reaction. So by having something moving around while you're going through these experiences, it's not allowing those same pathways to be accessed. So you can hopefully access new pathways and have a different reaction.
Yeah. My boyfriend was doing it, and then he opened his eyes while he was doing it and saw her texting. And then I know. And then later in the session, she goes, "When was the last time you felt like you're abandoned?" And he said, "A little bit earlier when I opened up my eyes and saw you texting." I just thought that was so funny.
Yeah, that's fucked up. Yeah, so I've worked with that. I've worked up in that area, and then I've done like we said, some psychedelic stuff. But One of the things I wanted to bring up, because I get asked about that all the time, well, what's the psychedelic work? And, that's really healing and that's really great. And there's a big influx of this community that's involved with, ayahuasca retreats and working with mushrooms and working with LSD and working with MDMA. And, that's all fine and that's all good, but I'm not suggesting that to anybody. But what I am saying is that what doesn't get spoken about is the integration, which is the vital key. So, I'm not saying go to some dude's house at 2 a.m. in Silver Lake and drop acid and think that your life's going to get better, because it's not. In fact, it could be dangerous and it could re-trigger some horrible things and you have no way to process that. When I talk about integration, so the journey work is where you get an opportunity to look at some stuff and see what comes up for you, and hopefully you record it or take notes, or someone's there, a therapist, ideally, taking notes of what's coming up for you. And then the next few months is processing in a therapeutic environment what came up during that journey. So sometimes for me, when I'm doing that work, there's no immediate effect. I don't wake up the next day and I'm like, oh, everything's good and I'm healed from the trauma. But what I can do is access what came up and then continue to work on that in therapy. So it really is more of a clinical way of doing this. And I just don't think enough people know about the follow-up stuff that's just really the vital key in making that stuff successful.
Yeah, I just had a shaman on who he doesn't like to be, I guess they don't like to be called that, but...
That's interesting. Most of them love it.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I'm a shaman. That's right.
He was like a Hollywood shaman.
Yeah.
But
they like it the most.
I think so too, but I feel like it was like a way of manipulation to be like, that's not what I'm doing. I'm, doing I think he likes to be referred to as a medicine man.
That's right.
But I don't know anything about ayahuasca, so I think he might have mentioned integration, but I didn't. But I didn't really talk about it because I didn't really know until I later looked it up when you mentioned integration. And I was like, oh, that's what he mentioned, and then I realized it's that whole second part, and that's where you put everything into
that's
place
right.
From what you
because otherwise you're just partying.
But what do you exactly?
You know what I mean?
And are you working with the same therapist?
Yeah.
So it's the same person all around.
I work with the same team every time.
Okay, and team. How many people are involved?
I have a therapist and a doctor.
Okay,
and it's just safe setting. We plan a day like a month ahead of time, and any there's a lot of preparation that goes into it, and a lot of supplements that can be taken to ensure safety and ensure recovery.
Like what?
Like 5-HTP and magnesium. There's a lot of things that you need to put in your system in order to have a successful journey that's beneficial mostly, and so. And then when it comes to the integration part, it's just me and my therapist one-on-one. And we will sit and we will rewatch or re-listen to the tapes from the journey, and I'll go, wow, oh, go back to that thing. That really resonates. Because typically you'll forget what comes up, you know what I mean? Because you're really kind of in another dimension. And wow, I had no idea that was floating around in my body, because there's a philosophy that your body holds on to trauma and fear and anger physically on a physical level. And sometimes you're not even aware of what those traumas are. And so like they can come up, and then you can learn to apply the tools in a positive way for your life. So that's what I've worked at. And, I'm someone who has, had really beautiful, blessed opportunities in my life. And I've also had some very dark times and been very suicidal. So it got to the point where it's like I can try alternatives, or I can just check out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wasn't really ready to check out.
How far into sobriety did you start using these other outside tools?
Well, my journey in sobriety has been varied. Okay. My first meeting was probably I was 17. And so I've been in and out of the rooms for however long that's been, over 30 years. And I've had some relapses, so I've been in and out, I mean, I never did it perfectly. I've done my most successful longest run was like 8 years with, and that's hardcore steps, hardcore, being of service and working with others. And then ultimately, if I came back around, and I'm sorry to keep moving this mic, but that's what I found is the key, even through this other work, is like just giving back and being available and of service to other people. And so now I have taken that work and I started working in the domestic violence space and in the mental health awareness space, and I try and make a difference there. But certainly don't go up to people and go, oh man, you should take DMT. You know what I mean? Like that's just like, that's not for me to say.
You have a charity for that? Or
I started an organization with my buddy Billy Morrison, who's an artist, and he plays with Billy Idol, and he and I invented something called Above Ground, which is it's an organization for suicide prevention and mental health awareness. And last May, I think, we put together a huge show where it was a lot of our friends, Courtney Love, Billy Idol, Corey Taylor came, and they all did songs with us, but we did 2 full records. So we did Adam and the Ants, Kings of the Wild Frontier in its entirety. Then we stopped down, and then we had a production change, and then we came back for the entire Velvet Underground with Nico album. So it was 2 complete albums because we missed the full-length vinyl album. And all the money from that went to Music Cares, which I'm sure you know, and they do a lot of work with musicians who are struggling from addiction, but they've also reached out to people struggling with mental health issues. And so that's kind of my passion, and then also working in the domestic violence space because, I don't know if you know this, but when I was 15 years old, my mother was murdered by her boyfriend. And that was, and there were warning signs, but this is 1983.
That he was an abusive guy.
He was abusive. And this was in 1983 where I don't really think the words domestic violence were, it wasn't really spoken about. There was no, it was very difficult to find groups. And frankly, when you're in that kind of a scenario, you can't imagine the worst case scenario taking place. And so I kind of try and let it be known that there are warning signs, and you need to react and take care of oneself if you see those warning signs, because the worst thing that you can imagine can in fact happen, but you can prevent it if you go to the right resources. So I work with a group called Safe Horizon, and they what they do is they provide housing for women and children that are and men too, because it's it isn't actually one-sided, but there's fewer men in here, but it's housing for people that need to get out of violent relationships and need to be off the radar. So they can't even look up where Safe Horizon is because they're like, I went to visit a shelter and hang out with some of the families that were there, and I was blindfolded when they took me there because they don't want anybody to know the address of the shelters, and then they take those.
It's almost like
it's like witness protection.
Yeah, exactly.
Program. Yeah, it's amazing. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You certainly don't have to worry about me giving out the address, but but I was all for it, and I loved that level of security.
Is that triggering in a way, visiting those homes?
No.
I'm sure it brings up something every time, because even for you talking about this right now, I have my own experiences, and I feel myself inside. It's triggering.
It is triggering, and the antidote for the trigger is to see that there is this place here, and I'm seeing people that are having a chance to move on with their lives. And especially, like, if you want to talk about heartbreaking, man, you go into the Safe Horizon, like, playroom for the kids where it's like little chairs and toys and things for them to feel like they have a community and fun. And like, you're just like, man, I'm so lucky to be able to see these kids get a second chance.
Yeah.
Because that event completely transformed my life.
Of course. And, is that what kicked up also a lot of your partying, or?
I don't like to say that because I feel like that does a disservice to other survivors.
Okay,
sorry. No, that's fine. I'm glad you made the distinction. It would be very easy, and I went through a lot of years using drugs and blaming, like, well, my mom was killed, so blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Like, millions and millions of people lose loved ones and don't become junkies.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I guess I didn't mean it as a place of, like, operating from victimhood or anything, but just as a coping mechanism.
It was probably a coping mechanism, but I would think I was well on my way to being an addict anyway.
Okay.
And once I had that as an a neon sign flashing saying you can do whatever you want and just point to this and people will get off your ass. And that's what I did, So I used it. I used it to get out of school. I used it to not do homework. I used it to get high. I used it to manipulate women. I did whatever it was, you know what I mean? And it just didn't feel right. So that's when I ended up getting sober for because it just wasn't working.
Was it affecting your career a lot?
In a weird way, in a weird roundabout way, I think that I dove deeper into music and the arts because I needed an escape. So in some strange roundabout way, I think that, I may not have had the career that I have had it not been for that event. So I can't say that I'm grateful for the event because I'm certainly not, but what I chose to do with my feelings around that event, I'm grateful for that choice, and certainly being in the arts and music and having a creative outlet for trauma like that is a wonderful gift.
Yeah. Is it frustrating? I'm just going to say you're sober, because you are, but besides the other stuff, is it frustrating, playing with other musicians who have problems and are all fucked up and you're showing up there to do your job, you've done the work, and then you're...
No, I mean, I'm in the entertainment business, I can't expect, because I don't drink or do drugs, I can't expect everyone else to, you know what I mean? That's my choice.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy who's walking into the club, it's on me. You know what I mean? I know that stuff's out there. And the fact of the matter is, I keep liquor in my house. My friends drink. I don't have any judgment or concern of what everybody else does. I just got to worry about me. And it makes it so much easier. You know what I mean? And if someone gets fucked up and comes on stage and they fuck up the set and they fuck up their job, that's on them. You know what I mean? Like, all I can do is show up and do the best I can do.
Were you always able to have this mindset, just keep the focus on me, or is that something that you had to learn? Because I really struggle with that, if you can't tell.
How do you struggle with it? In what way?
Just worrying. Well, I have a lot of friends who are addicts or, people who are in abusive relationships that I don't agree with. And I want to help people or give people advice, and that they don't want to, it's like they complain about stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to help them and offer them solutions. I've been through most of the stuff that I see my friends going through. So it feels really heartbreaking and frustrating.
Right. Well, what I do, when people complain to me or kind of, is a communicative tool that I use, which is, wow, I'm really sorry to hear that you're going through that. If you're interested in any possible solutions, let me know.
That's a good one.
Because then you're offering your help, but you're not forcing anything on them, and they get the choice of asking.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes people just want to vent so they don't feel alone, but they're not ready for the solution.
Yeah.
And it tends to help me not be as frustrated. So, I can reach out to somebody and be like, hey, man, just letting you know, I'm here. Should you need anything, I have some thoughts about this. And then that's on them if they want to say, well, what are your thoughts? Well, my thoughts are that you're doing everything completely wrong and you need to start completely over. But I would imagine in the comedy world, there's a lot of, drinking and drugs going on. Is that troubling for you?
Yes and no. I mean, it's more just annoying. But for me, I've never been on stage, fucked up. Yeah. Which feels like really good that I can say that, because I watch people who go up there fucked up. They're not prepared. They're like, whoa, what am I doing again? There's 400 people there who are waiting to see them, on a sold out night. And it's just like, I would do that differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've done it both ways. I spent a lot of years on stage fucked up, and I will be honest and say that some of those years were pretty goddamn good years.
Yeah. I mean, looked you up on Wikipedia. You've performed with everyone. Who are some of the favorite people, favorite shows
that I worked on? My favorite, my hero, my all-time hero that I got to play with is Lou Reed from the Velvet Underground. I've had just such an eclectic group of people. Michael Jackson was an amazing
I saw that.
guy to play with.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. He was such a sweetheart. He was so professional. He was like, I couldn't believe it. Usually it's like rehearsal starts at 2, so you get there at 2. And usually whoever the talent is breezes in around 4:30. With Michael, rehearsal started at 2. The clock hits 2, he walks in.
Wow.
Boom, right there. He's like, is it okay if we run the song? I'm like, he's so sweet. And he's like, first of all, I want to thank you so much for being here. It just really means a lot to me. And I'm like, wow, you're Michael Jackson. Don't worry about it, dude. I'll wash your car. You kidding me? So he comes in and he's like, okay, let's take it from the top. And like in the rehearsal, just bam, that guy is fucking on and he's dancing as hard as if it's the fucking it's Madison Square Gardens. You know what I mean? And he's just giving it all. And then he's like, was that okay for you? And I'm like, yeah, it's great. Let's do one more time. Boom, does it. And couldn't be kinder, couldn't be gentler, couldn't be a more sensitive, sweet soul. And I really value that time. I know that things got really dark for him, and certainly, I don't know. I don't have any opinion about any of that because I don't really know what's what. But all I know is my experience with him was really beautiful. And I got to play. I mean, played with Ozzy. I played with Christina Aguilera. I played with Mariah Carey. I played with fucking just the weirdest roster of people that don't really make any sense.
Yeah,
together.
I know. I was surprised to see the Christina Aguilera.
Yeah. I played on that record. And
Fighter.
I played Fighter, and then I recorded that with her, and then I played it a couple times with her on stage. And the reason is because I feel as a musician, the more people I play with, the more styles of music that I try and tackle, the more well-rounded I can be, because I can always learn something, and even with Christina, like I learned about playing live. Back when that happened, it was very rare that we would play with tracks. Like now it's very common, but back then, they would have digital tracks playing while we're playing, which means you have to be right on the click on the there's a click, the tempo meter, and I had never done that before because my band's always been live. That's
like for girls like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, those pop music.
Pop music has, and now a lot of the modern, especially industrial music or nails or things like that. That's a lot of it's like there's a lot of tracks playing with the live band. But that was my first experience, and then
I don't like that.
And then playing with Lou Reed was really amazing because it just is my hero, and you know what I mean. So,
is there anyone you didn't get to work with that you wish you'd got to? Or you want to in the future if they're still around?
I don't really know. I mean, we just, I played with everyone from, Puff Daddy to Ludacris. I played in a lot of the hip hop stuff. I just played with Ludacris like a couple months ago in Vegas. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty grateful for the opportunity I've had. I don't know if there's any wish list,
I like that you've been very eclectic and have kind of bounced around.
I mean, as far as current artists that I wouldn't mind playing with, I would say that Ariana Grande and I should probably take a weekend up north together at a bed and breakfast, like maybe Santa Barbara. But I don't know about playing music with her.
You'll make music in a different way.
The international language of love.
Yeah, she's cute.
But no, there's really nothing. I played with Nails. I played with Manson. I played with.
I love Manson.
I do too. But there's somebody who's got all the tracks going on. So maybe you do like it. But it's cool. I'm super. Right now, I got done. I was in New York and I was shooting this TV show called Ink Master, which is about tattooing, and so then I'm in New York for like 3 months at a time, and I just kind of got back. So
that's why. Okay, and that show has had like 10 seasons, right?
The 11th season airs August 28th.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then I haven't watched a show. Is it a competition?
It's a competition. Okay. It's a lot like Project One Way or any of those kind of things where there's all these challenges and. In this case, it's tattooers, and like every day it's a different tattoo that they got to do, and then the worst one goes home until there's a winner. And season 11 begins on the Paramount Network August 28th, and I can't believe it's gone this long, and we're starting season 12 in January. But it's been great for me, and like that has become a whole nother family, like my crew and the cast that I work with out there in New York, and I have like kind of a second life in New York, and New York is really great because, as you know, you can get as much done in an hour in New York as you can in a day in LA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I had 5 appointments in LA, it would take me all day long to do it. And in New York, I can do 5 to 6 things in an hour and a half.
That's very true.
And I really like it there because there's a feel of like electricity and hustle in the air, and you can get things done. And but I couldn't live there.
Yeah.
My dream is Oregon on the coast, ocean view, lighthouse down the way. So out my bay window, I see a lighthouse, green jungle, forest behind me, hot cup of coffee, mist coming in.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
I've never been to Oregon.
I would go insane, though.
Yeah, right? I mean,
this is really beautiful. Now I want to kill myself.
Yeah, I have to be in a city.
Yeah. Oh, you do? Well, Portland would be very close, so the idea would be you need a face.
Just from watching the show, Portlandia, I don't think I want to live there.
Well, yeah, Portlandia is a very self-conscious take on like the hipster community, but I'm talking about just the nature. I miss the nature.
Let's talk about beauty. Okay. Do you think you'd have your own line of eye makeup?
Never.
You wear eyeliner every day?
No, I don't.
You don't?
Why, no.
I thought, okay.
Where did you get that piece
Well,
of
you had
information?
the picture that you showed me from is it Performance?
Performance. Last night I was playing.
Okay, I just see a slight bit of residue.
That was last night.
So I didn't know if it was a daily thing.
No. This is
which would be cool.
This is the next day slept in whorish look.
Which is the best.
It's the best time.
Freshly fucked eye makeup.
It looks great. I know. Last night I took part in a Rocky Horror Picture Show Shadowcast, which for those of you who don't know, Rocky Horror Picture Show came out in 1975, and it's a big cult favorite. People go every week to see it at midnight, and there's a live cast that acts out the movie in front of the movie while it's happening. And so last night I was all glammed up, and I went and did that, and that's why I'm a little tired today.
Thank you for coming.
Of course. And yeah, so what you're seeing is a little residue from the night before because I had full drag makeup on.
I love that. What do you do to get ready for a show? Like, what is that? What is your process like before?
Like a
in
music,
terms of getting ready spiritually.
A music show?
Yeah.
Typically, it sounds so corny, but typically it's a quick meditation, burning a Palo Santo or sage or something like that. And then really it's all about community and music. So in Jane's Addiction, we have a little tiny setup backstage where we have instruments and drums and a vocal mic and a PA. So we spend like a good hour before we hit the stage playing together backstage. And that's like, to us, that loosens us up. Yeah. That gets us connected as players. That gets us familiar with the repertoire of songs that we're going to do. And then we go back on stage and, and it's just second nature and it's just fun.
I like that.
Yeah. It's, I guess for you, it'd be like telling jokes before you go tell jokes.
Yeah.
Or just finding out what material works and what doesn't. Yeah,
it's funny. It's like people, a lot of comics try jokes on each other, and then people are, but I don't even like to do that much anymore with certain people because a lot of people will be like, I don't know, and then they discourage you, and then it's like, might as well just go fucking do it, because it's like, if you think it's funny, it's usually funny.
Yeah.
But other people can like try to steer you away, and then you'll go do it and it'll kill, and they'll be like, oh.
Yeah.
Also, it's like when you say something to someone that's off stage, it's not the same thing.
No.
If I'm telling you, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, also, I guess the difference being is that what you do is a very individualized form of expression.
Yeah, what I think is funny instead of the next.
But I mean, with what we do, it's like we're working off each other and responding to each other emotionally and musically and sonically. So, I have 3 other personalities to kind of tangle with and weave in between, like, in order to make something unique and cool. For you, it's just all on your own.
Yeah, but I think I like that. I'm kind of, in some ways, a controlling, to be in control and feel like I'm running the show. My
favorite moment recently in my life is that I was at a restaurant and Dave Chappelle was there. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, Dave Chappelle, I don't want to say anything to him. Just don't look, don't stare at him. And he turned around, he's like, yo, Dave? And he came up to me and said hi. And I was like, holy fuck, this guy's like a philosopher. Like I put Dave Chappelle among like the Alan Watts of the world. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? Like of these like philosophers, Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts, Dave Chappelle. Because what he does is fucking straight up philosophy on society and culture, and there is a very, it's an amazing, truthful awareness of where we're at as people that I don't think anybody else does. And he just goes up there and talks about it. He's not really telling jokes.
Exactly. He comes here all the time and he rolls in a lot at like 2 a.m, and he stays on stage for 2 hours straight just talking, but it's fucking hilarious. Yeah. He just has it, and there's just something
But he's also he's a teacher. You know what I mean? He's really holding up a mirror to society and saying, look how fucked up you guys are. You know what I mean? And I love that because I think more people need to point that out. I can't wait for the day that in the future, at some point, there's going to be a group of people sitting at a table, and one person is going to say, oh my God, you guys, do you remember social media? And everybody's going to go, oh my God, that was so weird.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that day.
Yeah. I wonder when that will be. 20 years from now.
Maybe 20 years from now.
I don't want my kids to have it. I
You're
mean, they will.
You're going to have kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have two god kids.
So you do?
Yeah. And they're just you know, they're all they can do is interact with screens, whether it's the phone, whether it's a TV, whether it's a video game. There has to be a piece of technology in order for them to enjoy themselves.
I don't like that.
It's insane. And my best friend Todd had his kids. They went to Disneyland. And they're in the fucking, magical kingdom, happiest place on earth. And he took a picture of him and his son and his son's friend sitting on a bench in Disneyland, just face down in the phone.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
It was insane. I mean, I just dude, that is that's fucking.
Well, I can't believe how young kids are who get phones.
That's art. But
yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? That's if you painted that would be,
that's some Diane Arbus shit.
You goddamn right it is. A little black and white.
Yeah.
Turn up the contrast.
So,
Arbus all day.
Yeah. One of us.
That's right.
Do you know?
What, Freaks?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Who do you think you're talking to here?
I took a college class called Freaks and Monsters, and we watched that movie, and I learned about the one of us thing, and then something they say in the movie, they're chanting, one of us, one of us. And I think they put that quote in so many movies, and I feel like a lot of people don't even get it. I saw it on American Horror Story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That film fucked me up because I saw that when I was a kid. Like it was on like 2 a.m. on like some cable channel. I was like maybe 9 or 10. Yeah. And the film she's talking about is a black and white film starring all circus carnival freaks. And basically there's a woman in the sideshow and she hates the freaks and she's just marrying one for his money and she's trying to kill him. So they turn her into a freak. And it just, it fucked me up, man.
Yeah.
That
is scary for a 9-year-old.
For a 9-year-old, but God, man, that movie, I watched it recently. It's hard, I can't believe you brought it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about it for some reason. Whenever anyone says one of us, I instantly think of it. But I also think of it as like a weird reference, and it makes me feel special to know it.
Yeah, it is good to know.
So I'm getting married next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
Oh
next
my God,
weekend.
where at?
At Madonna Inn.
Oh, that place is crazy.
Isn't it?
Do you know the room that you have yet?
Yeah, I've been there a bunch of times.
Okay, cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that you would give me some marriage advice.
Okay. Well, coming from a divorced guy, I don't know if it's
I've seen a couple marriages on your Wikipedia.
Only been married one time.
I thought it was 3.
That's what it says on Wikipedia.
Really? Yeah. How weird is that?
Well, it's on the internet. You can't believe everything.
That is true.
That's true, because any symptom that you may have in the future could result in death.
Do you read a lot of stuff about yourself on the internet and you're like, what the fuck is that? That never happened.
No, I can't do it.
Okay. I can't imagine.
But you're not the first to bring that up.
Oh.
But see, that's the thing. And here's what's good about this conversation and why you're going to excel in this medium is because you read the Wikipedia, but we're still having a nice conversation that's going in multitudes of directions. And as an interviewer, that's key because typically what interviewers do is they read the Wikipedia and then just ask those questions. Do you know what I mean? And that is the worst way to prepare for an interview.
To the answers they already know.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that the artist obviously is answered before or is aware of. And so you took information and you turned it into a thing that applies to you, which is marriage advice. And
Thank you.
That's the key to great interviewing. Advice. Well, where do you guys live together now?
Yeah.
And do you have a house or apartment?
Apartment.
Okay. Well, what worked best for me, obviously, Carmen and I got divorced, but I mean, I'm seeing her tomorrow. She's one of my best friends.
Gorgeous woman.
She's easy on the eyes, I think is what they call her. And I had my own room. I had my own room.
The whole time?
In our house. So it's like, here's the house, here's the common areas, here's the master bedroom, here's your closet, here's my closet, blah, 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 blah. This room over here, you're not allowed past the threshold. You You can come to the door and speak to me, but you can't come in. And the only reason was I needed space, space to decompress. I had a bed in there. I had a flat screen. I had a computer. I had a PlayStation and a phone. And that's it. And just a place to have some kind of retreat.
Was it your own phone line?
No, it was my cell phone. But I'm just saying, like, the point being that I think that
men need to decompress.
I'm not saying men. I think people.
Okay.
So I think that the only advice I would give is, how long have you guys been together?
Like 2 years, but we were best friends for 3.
You already know what you're doing, though.
Huh?
You already know what you're doing. This is, man. I think just communication is the absolute key. Owning responsibility, taking ownership of your part in mistakes. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day who was having a problem with her boyfriend, and she's like, "We have to have the talk tonight, and I'm worried about the talk." And I go, "Okay, let me just tell you this. Whatever he says, let him finish. Let him just say his thing. Don't go, yeah, but what about the time that you did that? What about this? What about that? Yeah, but don't do that. Just let him fucking finish. And then when he's finished, because he gets it off his chest, say, I totally hear where you're coming from. And that thing that you said that I do here, you're absolutely right. I do that. And I'm really sorry. Maybe I'll work on this thing because you're right about that thing. However, I feel these other ways about the things that we talked about, and then just get into that kind of communicative rapport. And I'm sure, is he in recovery as well?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, so you guys have the language down anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like you guys couldn't be better prepared. But that's to me, having the ability to have free space and the ability to communicate properly and have an understanding of what sometimes it's good to have a plan of how communication will go in the event of a problem. Listen, if we're going to have a problem, here's what we need to do. And let's make a deal now. Like I will let you finish, you let me finish, and we will listen and we will take accountability for the parts that we have in things. And just do that when you're not having a problem. So when you have a problem, the guidelines of communication are already in place.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Tell me about body suspension.
Okay, what do you want to know?
Okay, so I know nothing about it, but I've seen pictures on your Facebook, and I just explain to me what it is, what it does for you, I guess emotionally, or what it feels like. I mean, it hooks into your skin.
Yeah,
right?
what Chelsea's talking about is I do this thing called body suspension, which is basically there's piercings that go into various parts of the body, usually the back for just the typical suspension, and I get hoisted up with trained professionals in a biosafe environment. There's a lot of training that goes into the piercing and into the prep work and into the cleanup and all the bio stuff. So like certainly, again, much like with the psychedelics, don't just go down to the hardware store and get a bunch of material and go do this in your backyard because you're going to fuck yourself up. But so I get lifted on a pulley and swing from the skin wherever I'm hanging from. And it's actually a very ancient ritual called Sundance that was Okipa, that was Indian cultures started, and that was the transition from boyhood into manhood.
Wow.
They would do chest hook suspensions until the skin tore, and that's when you became considered a man.
In America, it's having sex?
I guess so. I don't know. But, and so for me, it's I just was fascinated with it. I knew a lot of people who were involved in that community, and then you hang out in that community. The piercing community and the tattoo community are very, very closely, intertwined. And then sooner or later, you're just like, wow, and you hang around it and you watch it and you see people do it and you see them come down and look like they're fucking having a blast, and you around it long enough, or I was around it long enough, where I just was like, that looks really fascinating.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's like. I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could, would I be able to do that? And so I tried it, and my first time was very, very painful, very, very hard. It didn't last very long, and I was stoked that I did it in the sense of like
pushing yourself.
Yeah, like I summited Everest or whatever your personal Everest is. You know what I mean? Like that was mine. And so I was really, really happy that I was able to do it, but I didn't get any like benefits from it, or I didn't really, I was just kind of in shock. But I knew there was more to it, and I kept investigating it. And then the second time I did it, it was a little bit better. Third time, it was like the fourth time, I was like, oh, I get this now. And then I just had the best time. And it was like, it took me a minute to get there. But typically, people do it for different reasons. For me, it's there's a sense of community because there's a lot of people that are very involved and trained in that world. And it's just, it's always a good environment to hang around people that are like-minded and have the same interests and are willing to push and explore and push the boundaries. There is an incredible endorphin rush.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so the pain itself kind of gets
surpasses.
Yeah, it surpasses the pain, and so the pain becomes secondary to the euphoric rush in a weird way. And then in some cases, it can be very meditative. So you can get into a really blissful state because you really have to, sometimes for me, I really have to focus on letting my mind go of the discomfort. And once you can get past that level of discomfort, you find yourself in a more zenned out space. I don't want to say zen, like it's not like a Buddhist practice, but in more of a blissful, peaceful state. And it's much like I compare it to yoga, where when you're taking a yoga class and you're in a really uncomfortable position and the teacher says, hold this position, because you have to learn how to be comfortable in the uncomfortable moments. So it's a way to, like, the way you take your practice into your everyday life is that if you're stuck talking to someone that's making you uncomfortable, just kind of harken back to holding Warrior 2 for an hour. And you're like, well, I did that. I can talk to this guy for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so it's the same kind of thing. Like, to find pleasure and joy and comfort in the uncomfortable is something that I can apply in my everyday life. And it's just fucking fun. You know what I mean? And it's just badass.
And so
it's like,
do you have you have a piercing, like you don't re-pierce every time?
No. It's like if you pierced your ear for a half an hour, it would just close up.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing.
So what do you keep in it in between?
Nothing. It just heals.
Oh. So how often do you do it?
Anywhere from once a week to once a year. Like, it depends. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any like routine. It's just, I've been throwing a lot of backyard parties where we do that. It's just like, and people come, and sometimes they do rope suspension where there's no hooks and no piercings, and just it's just kind of a fun little hang.
Like Japanese bondage.
Yeah, like I forget what they call it, but the Japanese rope, shibari or something like that. Yeah,
that's hot.
Yeah, so girls come and do that, and
naked.
Oh yeah.
Did you? Okay, I feel like someone told me you used to throw like these underground sex parties. Is that?
Define.
It sounds like I'm getting close to something.
I don't know what you heard, but I will confirm or deny.
Just tell me about like a fun party you threw that could.
Who told you that, and what did they say?
You
don't have to tell me who, but what did they say?
It's not like it was a mutual friend.
But what was the scenario that they painted? Because I don't want to tell you the truth and have it.
I want to know the truth.
See, but I want
to know about like cool, weird sex parties. I'll tell you this: I've been to Sanctum. It sucks.
Yes.
I've been to a bukkake. I watched a filming of one. That was interesting.
Right.
I think that's it for the most part for me, but I'm kind of like a bit of a voyeur in that way. I think it's interesting, no judgment. And, you're talking about body suspension, shibari.
Yeah.
I can just see, what's the next deeper one?
Well, okay. So first of all, I'm afraid to dispel any myths that make me sound more adventurous than I am. So
I'm loving this.
If you think that I've had underground sex parties, I'm just going to let you think that. You know what I mean? Because it makes me sound more eclectic and interesting.
Okay.
So I don't want to tell you I didn't, but I've been certainly in a lot of very precarious and provocative situations. A lot of it went. I just love that people think that. I don't want to say that.
I can't remember. It was just like someone I feel like was like, "Oh, ask them about underground sex parties."
I'm not too big on underground sex parties. I've been to them. Mm-hmm. I didn't throw. Well, there was a time in my life where there was stuff going on at my house all the time. Mm-hmm. Certainly in my using, and so the really I guess the ironic anecdote to that would be that there would be like, a house full of people all fucking each other. And like, I remember in particular one night, but see, this was back in my using days. So I remember.
Yeah. So it sounds like a fun story.
Yeah. So back in my, so I remember one night in particular where there was like these two, like just gorgeous, like 22-year-old, like model girls, like out in the living room, like going down on each other and just like having a, whatever. It's like, it's like the dream.
Musicianship.
Yeah, the musician dream life fantasy thing, right? And all I was doing was locked in the bathroom, cutting out lines and like smoking meth. And I couldn't have been less interested in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get
like,
that.
From every once in a while, I'd open the door and be like, you guys having fun out there? You doing okay? All right, I'll be in here. And I just went back to what I was doing. So I wasn't really a participant in that, but the scene was set.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in some ways, it makes it much more, I guess it's much more glorious in terms of a recreation for a film, but it's actually very, it was a very dark time in my life.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, I had all kinds of people in my house. Like my house used to be the kind of place that like at 2 a.m. when everything was closed, that's when like people just showed up and they would just go until the next day, sometimes for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad I survived it, and I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. Whenever I see like really like young girls who are like out partying, I get jealous instantly, and then I have to remind myself I did all that.
Yeah.
I did that. Like I went out every single night. Like I was exactly where they were. It wasn't that great years later thinking about it. I'm fine.
And you're not.
I have to like pep talk myself.
And you're not going to end up at the weird house in the hills watching some dude do coke all night,
jacking off while you're doing lines of coke, and he's like telling you to bend over.
Well, no,
sorry, Mom.
that actually sounds okay. But I just mean, I've been through that. At this age, like I'm not interested in watching some dude jack off while I do coke again.
This might be a weird question, but I feel like I can't remember if it was Cribs or you had a show with Carmen Electra.
Yeah.
And I feel like I remember seeing the interior of your house. Mm-hmm. Was it all black and dark purple?
That is right. That was one of my houses.
I don't know why I remember that.
That's very weird.
Isn't that?
That was my...
I have a very good memory. And I just have like a photographic memory of like, when you think about someone, it's like, what do I remember about this person?
Yeah. That's...
Purple velvet? Okay. Now... black and dark purple. And I remember thinking, that looks scary. I wonder if they were scared.
My Cribs house was super tweaked out and fucked up, and I loved it. I mean, it was just fucking... Was that the one where I had like 20 cuckoo clocks?
I don't remember. Yeah. I just remember thinking about the interior of your house being black and dark purple, and I remember being like a kid when I saw that thinking, I wonder if they're scared at night.
Who, if I'm scared at night?
Like if it's like really dark or creepy looking. Because
there was like a coffin in the living room. It was like it was a mess.
Was that Cribs?
I think that was on Cribs.
I miss Cribs.
And I do too. But in this day and age, it's a good thing to not let the world know what the inside of your home looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you didn't think about it back then, but now it's like, I don't really know if I want to broadcast this. But I always have something architecturally fun going on in my house. I really just I love making my home an escape from the insanity which is outside. So I want my environment space to feel like a vacation.
Yeah, so it's a little more zenned out now.
Well, it's not so much zenned out, but it's certainly creative. It's different. It's an expansion of who I am as a person, and it's kind of like, lately I've been letting a lot of street artists come in and just tag the walls and just like create art in my space, like right on the architecture. So it's really become kind of a fun little artistic hangout where people come and play music, people come and paint, people do whatever they want to do. And it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's kind of like a Warhol factory, but it's a miniature version. It's like a Warhol apartment.
Yeah,
where, you have
that's cool.
Different walks of life coming in, and they're all inspired, and they're cool to meet each other, and it's a fun hang, and to me that's what inspires me to keep moving forward and to keep living and being in pursuit of something that's exciting, because I bring other people that inspire me around and watch them connect, and sometimes they end up working together or making something together, and it's a cool, positive environment. I mean, you should definitely come by one.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Do you do anything to help yourself creatively unblock?
Not particularly. I think that, I've been blocked for many years at a time, and sometimes you got to wait it out. I mean, I would imagine. Do you ever go through that?
Yeah, with writing, sitting down, trying to think of things to write about, and you're like, fuck. But I feel like part of it is just like resistance in your brain, some sort of thing that you can't figure out, but you can call it something else and call it,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think just free writing begins to get things flowing. Do you write?
Yeah. Do I write? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. But you're right, and I think that it goes back to that suffering comment that I made, is that if you're aware of the outcome, or you have some kind of expectation of what this is going to be or do or be perceived, then you're fucked.
Yeah, it can paralyze your creativity.
You have to let go of any expectation, and like I heard a comedian tell me once that rings true for me as a musician. He said, you have to be willing to not be funny in order to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's the same thing with music. You have to be willing to write something terrible in order to find something great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just like, as long as you can accept that it's not every time going to be something fucking awesome, it's just the process of doing. There's a great commencement speech by this artist, and I forget his name, and I'm embarrassed to have forgotten his name, but he says, just no matter what you do, make art. Make great stuff. And do your best to keep producing. And if that's all you do, then that's all you do, because the process is really what it's supposed to be about. And and that's one of the things I get asked by up and coming bands and musicians, like if I have any advice for them, or what can you tell me? I'm a struggling artist. How can I And I say, be sure you fucking love what you do. And that's your goal. Because if you're doing this because you want the girl, or you want the car, or you want the house, or you want the fame, do us all a favor and get out now. Mm-hmm. Because you're all results oriented. If you're doing it because you love it and you're happy to do it from the back of a van, pulling your gear behind you for the next 10 years, then you're on your way.
Yeah. When you were coming up, were you able to just like really enjoy the moment and live in that and be like, where I'm doing it, or were you looking ahead like, fuck, I'm not where I want to be?
No, we were Jane's Addiction. I never thought that anybody would care. Like we just did what we wanted to do, because we never imagined that, things would get to where they got. I think our singer Perry Farrell probably did, but for me, I wasn't coming at it from that space. I just thought it was cool, and I'm hanging out with my friends and we're playing songs that we wrote. And since I had no expectation of getting anywhere, I didn't have any pressure to be a certain way, because it was beyond my wildest dreams that anybody would give a shit about what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So since I didn't think anybody cared, just stayed as true to who we were as possible, and just did what we enjoyed, and that's what translated to people the most. Mm-hmm. As soon as you start doing something derivative or in the hopes of a certain outcome, your art is going to suffer.
Yeah. I think that's true. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I feel like that's like the best place to end it. Thank you so much for coming. Is there anything you want to plug, promote?
No, not really. I just came down here to see you because it's been many years.
Yeah. And what's your podcast?
I do a podcast on dashradio.com Wednesdays from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that's on the Alt X station. It's called Dave Navarro's Dark Matter Radio, and if you miss it, and that's live, so if you call in, we have questions. It's a caller-driven show, and then if you miss that, you can check it out on iTunes, which is Dave Navarro's Dark Matter. And last week we had singer Orianthi, and next week we have artist Shepard Fairey coming in.
Oh,
so
awesome.
That's on Wednesday. Shepard Fairey will be in, and we have guests like this, but it's like we're way less together than you are.
Really?
because we have 4 hosts and it's just like a free for all and we're just fucking idiots. In fact, if you want to come on as a comedian guest,
I'll come on.
You would love it because we're just fucking
talking about whatever going around.
So stupid.
I like going around in different directions. I don't like feeling like super straight and like, you know.
Yeah. How long have you been doing this?
This particular podcast, I've been doing it maybe like 6 months, but I was on another podcast with 2 other comics for like 2 years before that.
Right.
So I've been doing podcasts for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it done anything for you? Do you like it?
We do have podcast, you know, fans, people who, you know, found my comedy and know who I am because of it and, you know, carried over, listen to mine. And, you know, and it's cool getting messages from people who say that I've helped them with, you know, sharing my story.
Yeah.
The other podcast we had, it was definitely a lot crazier and it was geared towards people telling crazy stories. But the more further I got in my sobriety and in life, I kind of just was like, I don't really want to like showcase the worst stories from my past anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just kind of.
So you thought you'd cash in on the worst stories of others. Yeah.
But also me too. And then I was like, I don't know. I think I kind of matured out of it.
Yeah.
But I do love talking to people and hearing, you know, interesting guests and in all, you know, different areas of, you know, occupations that I don't know a lot about. And, you know, and also if I can say, you know, I think you're a very interesting, intelligent person. Like just, you know, I feel like I learned a lot about you and I think you're a sensitive artist, if I may say.
You may.
And very spiritual. And I like that you're like a very seeking person and you have a really good head on your shoulders. And it makes me be like, fuck, I need to like stay in the present, focus on myself. You know, it gave me a lot to think about. So I appreciate you coming on and talking.
It's a pleasure. It's nice to see you again. And yeah, the thing I love about it, you know, because we do our podcast and it's certainly, maybe it is for you, but I'll tell you, it certainly is not putting me in a different tax bracket by doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, I just enjoy the people and the community and the people I talk to and the guests I have on. And obviously, you know, it's a one-way direction to the fan base where they get to learn stuff about people they care about that they wouldn't otherwise know. But even more so, what we do is I do it live because I found that it's really the last true artistic medium that like it's no holds barred and there's nothing you can do, and if once it's said, it's out there. You know what I mean? And I love being on that edge. So if you come into our show, you're gonna feel a difference because there's no editing.
Our other one used to be live.
Yeah, it's great.
I don't like editing them, to be honest.
I don't either.
I'd be nice and say I can take something out for people, but it's kind of more punk rock to be like, well, fuck it. Like, that's what it is.
I feel like there's an edge that you're on when it's going live and you know people are listening to what you're saying at the moment. Like right now, I know that people are hearing this after the fact.
Yeah.
But if I knew people were listening right now, there would be a little bit more anxiety and there's a little bit more edge there. And that's why we do it that way, because otherwise we could just throw it up on iTunes and, you know, and sometimes we do have to do that because I'm out of town or whatever.
Do you ever get stage fright or did you used to?
Depends on what it is. Yes. I mean, I get stage fright when it's something that I'm not particularly familiar with. In my own band, no. Jane's Addiction, no. I have another band with Billy called Royal Machines, and I don't get stage fright for that. But if I'm a guest with some other artist, it's nerve-wracking for sure.
Still to this day, even though you're so
I think it's with anything. Is what I'm familiar with, I can walk into no problem. And anything that's a brand new, you know, remotely nerve-wracking experience, the nerves get to me. I'm
sure also like you saying that, you know, in Jane's Addiction, how you guys backstage connected with each other before and did little things like that. And then when you're with another band and you guys are just going out there and they were keeping it themselves the whole time, it's like, how do we connect?
Dude, other bands will invite you to come and play a show and they're like, yeah, we want to do such and such a song. We want you to join us. And then you're like, okay, great. And then you learn that song and you get to the show and you're like, okay, I learned it. And you're playing and they go, oh, no, we don't do it like that anymore. We do it this way. And like that kind of shit happens like last minute. And you're like, oh, fuck. And you go, yeah, we go into double time at the end. And like, I have no idea. Why don't you tell me that? You know, so those kinds of things happen all the time.
And it's like, oh, but it's just adjusting and pushing forward.
I guess. And it's just like, you know, it's their fan base and it's just gnarly. But listen, I know that you're trying to get me off the air and I can't stop talking because
no, it's okay.
Because you very nicely got me a quad black espresso, which This is very cool of you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so I'm a little hyped up.
No, I love it. I just thought when you're giving the advice, it sounded like a roundabout perfect ending.
Yeah, we can roundabout end it.
But,
It's all good. Thank you so much, Chelsea.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, pleasure. Thanks, guys.